Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
There you go. All right. Welcome to this episode of the Swing and Miss podcast. This is how we're going to intro it, just right in there. I'm your host, Winslow. I have another host today with me, and I should have wrote down an intro for you, but yeah, you've been here before. We got Skallagrim, and then our interviewee, the person we will grill today, because that's just how this episode is going to go. We got Heymac, the DNB historian. How you
In the
doing?
hot seat.
Yeah.
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here, long-time listener, first-time caller, so
Nice.
but yeah, super glad to be here. Especially with Skal here, so.
Oh yeah. All right. First awkward silence out of the way. Perfect. Hey Mac. First question. Why do you write music?
So I don't know. I've been trying to think about a proper answer for that for a while now. And I guess I have two different answers for it. One is that I'm just trying to make something that for me is fulfilling, and not necessarily in the sense of like career or any sort of like accolades, but just in terms of what it's representing.
Yeah.
Which is arguably super vague, and kind of very abstract. So it's not necessarily tied to getting signed to any label or anything like that. I consider that like a almost like a side effect.
Yeah.
Or, like it is an outcome of it, but it's not necessarily what I'm trying to strive for. And I know that like in the past, you and I have chatted about that, and that kind of idea of what people are trying to achieve with their music is really dependent, on their personality and stuff like that. So I know there's some people who all they want to do is they want to chase the letters, right? They want to get the big H, they want to get the big R, stuff like that. And I don't know, getting that is something to celebrate, for sure. But at the end of the day, I think that if the music that you're making doesn't reflect what you want, like, or what you want it to be, then I guess it's just kind of, you're gonna be empty, or not necessarily empty, but just not as fulfilled. So
Yeah. No, I completely get what you mean, just by like making it for your own reasons, or what I guess I went to school and learned intrinsic value. It's like you're just doing it because you want to do it, like it's your reason. It's not like, oh, my parents want me to play this instrument, so I'm going to play it, and I guess I'm going to be all right. I guess I'm speaking from experience. But then like you eventually find like that reason for you that you want to do it, and it's like nothing else really matters at that point.
Yeah, well, when you said like intrinsic, that nails it. Yeah, like it's a lot tougher to describe, and I guess the conversations that I've had with a lot of other artists have ended up being in the same kind of stream of that, where like either their goal was that they want to be big, and they've got like very tangible goals of, I want to play X festival, I want to be signed to X label, and not to say that any of those would not be like appreciated if it happens. It's just I don't know, I try and divert my attention elsewhere, and that's I guess that's where where it's leading me to now. So
yeah, so you're not using the label hunt as sort of like your carrot on a stick?
Not particularly. When I'm looking for like labels to work with, my main motivation really is just the passion behind them. And I guess like I've been really lucky so far, that the labels that I've been able to release with have been with people that you can, definitely see the passion, and gladly shout out that, like, basics, the drive that I see from from all the people involved with that, phenomenal. Like, they care, and you can tell that they care, and it's great. I mean, I also, like, the first song I ever got signed was with Ram, and there's no situation where I ever can say they're not passionate. It's Ram.
Yeah.
So
What was
yeah,
that
like, that's
like?
yeah.
Like, your first release is Ram. Like,
It happens in stages. So, like, the various emotions I experienced. So first one was surprise, because they got back to me within a day.
oh yeah. That's
So that was cool. And then like, that, other than that, it was just excitement
yeah.
and anticipation, because I guess, like, the casual person who just listens to a lot of music doesn't necessarily know about that back end of releasing, right?
Yeah.
Where like, Eye of Light, that tune, I think by the time it came out, was like 2 years old.
Yeah. That's the worst.
So and then, yeah, I know, like, both of you are probably aware of that, like, lead up time on releases is wild, and the larger the label it is, like, perhaps if you got signed to Hospital.
Oh my god. We're not supposed to talk about that.
I had to do it.
Yeah,
But,
I know.
This is the first one, I think, right after the news has come out of you getting on Hospital.
Yeah, so this will be on like Monday, and then like the music stuff will be on Wednesday. So yeah, I mean, there'll be like an actual episode about that, which is why I didn't want to let's just we're gonna make it about Harry today. But yeah, that happened. So which isn't a small thing, but I keep trying to play it down because that's just who I am. And I'm not trying to like freak out about it, even though I've known it was happening for like the last year. But back to you, Harry. What's going on?
Well, no, like, that's the thing, right? Is that you knew about that for a year.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it took a lot of time. So even with that song, like, I was sitting on that and that news for months, and I just wanted to tell everyone. Like, it was such a cool achievement. And yeah, as much as I not hate, but I try to avoid that label hunting, right? Like, there's no denying that having a song signed to Ram is something that's very cool that you get to say that you've done. Also, and the weirdest part too is that in terms of Canada, there's not that many artists that actually have songs signed to Ram, but a good number of them that have been signed in the most recent 5 years or so, majority of them are actually based out of the same city I'm in.
Wow.
Which is kind of cool, because there's myself, there's Zeal, there's Jake Roberts, there's Killips and Stigs, who are on the Zeal's EP, and then Sorcery. So there's a lot of people.
All
so like, not even just about the being able to say that I have a song that's signed to them. I also now can just like go to my friends in real life and also be like, hey guys, like, I somehow managed to do it too. Which was, like I said, it was phenomenal. And then, like, after that, it was cool to just be able to get stuff signed to Base 6, and they, like, the encouragement and the amount of like passion, like I said, that is in that group is phenomenal. Shout out to Jack.
Yeah,
he's got a phenomenal ear.
He's been doing super well himself lately.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, I've been listening to, I believe it's Persistence. I think that's the one. And if it's the wrong song title, then I'm so sorry. But I've been listening to that one nonstop for a while, and that's he's been doing great. And so, like, kind of getting guidance from him in the early stages was really, really cool. And then like, I did a release with Future Vibes, which is a label based out of Edmonton, or sorry, Grand Prairie, so nearby here. and like, yeah, that was all like 2019, and it was a really wild 6 months.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what it feels like in your case, Winslow, where like it's like that, but times 10, times 100 in terms of workload and deadlines and expectations. So,
And I don't know, I'm still new, so I'm just like, I don't know what's like the standard yet, but when like there was a deadline, it was like a hard deadline. I'm like, shit, I can't. If I can't make it, they're just gonna drop me, and that's it. And I can't tell anybody because it never came out. But no, it's been. I know that same feeling. Like even with like Gold Fat and Mike Kiss, he would be trying to like do the same kind of positive pressure kind of thing, and that for me it works because I'm usually like ready ahead of time. But then sometimes it's still like, oh, I have 2 days. I need to just shut everyone out and just sit here and finish something, you know.
yeah, and like that deadline pressure is
The
so
worst.
real. it's yeah. I mean, I feel like that it helps though, in my opinion, right? Like you no longer can make excuses to just keep tweaking.
Yeah, that exactly. Oh my god. Yeah. So you sent us like not you sent us, but like we've been talking like in the support group, the BSA support group, that you have
Yeah.
like just a whole folder of tracks. So at least we know like you've been like busy. It is just like that what to do with it. And then you said you might self-release. So how's that going?
I mean, yeah, I can basically give everyone a recap as to what the last year and a half has been. I made the decision to switch to Ableton from FL Studio in January of last year.
Yeah.
And so I've been using FL, I think, for 5 or 6 years at that point. So there was just that adjustment period. And then, yeah, I've just been working on music, doing the process of, you know, sending it out, getting feedback, sending it to labels, things like that. And then, you know, now I've been taking a look into doing a self-release option for a couple of them, and then seeing what the future has. So, I don't like self-releasing's challenging, and
yes.
I know that I was gonna say you both have dealt with that. Getting all of the pieces together in one neat little package in time is daunting. So,
do you feel it's the same pressure as if a label were to give you a deadline? If you give yourself a deadline like that?
I really should give myself a deadline, but I don't.
Yeah, 'cause that's what's been helping me with the self-release stuff that I'm doing this year, is that I've set myself a date, and whatever I have at that point is going out, no matter if it's only 2 tracks or if it's 4 tracks. Whatever I have is going out. Do you think a deadline like that would help for the tracks that you feel you want to self-release?
Yeah. Like I think adding a deadline, no matter what, would be, it's going to be beneficial for sure. It's just I'm going to have to consistently fight with my brain that just says you can push it back. You can just push it back a week.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that the deadline for Heymac Lo-Fi, I'm just gonna put that name since you're both here. Just a bunch of lo-fi Heymac tracks is it's like a month from now.
Well, I mean, okay. Funny enough, actually, this week I just received a file from Mr. Skallagrim here.
Wow.
With an ambient version of a tune that I made a while back. So.
Yeah, I've already done not a lo-fi flip to it, but it's a remix of it.
Yeah, it's an ambient one, and I think it's wonderfully done. So, yeah, if you tuned into his set today, you might have heard it. But yeah, it's I think putting on a deadline is beneficial, and like I have been, like I'm doing all the organization for it right now,
Yeah.
and I'm talking like it's at least not necessarily a year, but at least like 6 months of total planning of songs. And so there's not like concrete, like a concrete schedule, but there is like the building blocks of it, and I have hopefully everything that I need to, and then just putting in as much time as I can to get it done and get it out. And I've had several people now that when I've mentioned like, oh yeah, like I might put out one or two tunes, just for the sake of it. And they go, oh, you're finally self-releasing. Like,
yeah. I know that feeling, man. It's because it's like you want to do the label thing because on one hand, you just send them the tunes and they do everything. And then it's also the label, like they have the reach, hopefully they have the reach, they have the, promo stuff, and they can help you out a little bit more. But then there's also at least for me, like wanting to learn that process myself sometimes, and just like, even to the annoying, just like metadata and plugging in the right names. Like, I don't think I ever told you this, Mike, but Winslow file was almost late because I put like names or something wrong and it got rejected. And I was just like in the middle of the night, like, shit, back together.
Yeah, no, I had not heard that one. But see, that's the only thing that I find daunting with the whole self-release thing is I honestly don't know enough to get it all out there, but like the biggest daunting thing is the reach.
Yeah.
Because sure, I have my 150 followers on Twitter right now, and friends that are going to retweet, and I'm going to get reached that way. But it's nowhere near as established as like my first EP that I was on Soul Deep, because they have that initial. You're kind of like cutting out the networking bit.
Yeah.
Because they do that for you, and then you do your own little click that kind of boosts it in their circles. But getting that initial boost. So I understand the relief of wanting to go via a label. But I think it's also one of those things like everybody should do at least one self-release to like get the process.
It's like it's like once you do it, you'll know if you want to do it again or if you never want to do it again. You just want to hit demo inboxes over and over, get blocked from emails. I know I have in the past.
Well, that's like, I mean, I did not necessarily a test run, but a bad attempt at it when I released my first ever drum and bass song, which is Biding Time.
Wow.
And that's like full self-released on everything. And I mean, it did fine relative to, everything else. It just, it was me posting it on SoundCloud and then like one Instagram picture. And I was like, hey, it's available. And yeah, obviously you miss that with a label, but I mean, kind of like bringing it back to when we're talking about the fulfillment and stuff like that. I mean, getting the reach is great, obviously, because it gets more people listening to the songs. But if I released a song that had, my, basic reach on it, as long as I'm content with what the song is, then I feel like a lot of the time I walk away with it feeling happy.
Yeah.
And that's huge too, right? And I guess I just had a couple like lucky opportunities where like the song actually that Mike did the ambient remix for, like that one, Degs started his Degs cast with it one time. And then Kino played it, and that was probably the best week of my life in that for the entirety of COVID. As I'm like, wake up to a couple messages like, "Hey, like Kino listened and played your track," and then it's just like an email from him. He's like, "Hey, man, this song's sick. I'll play it." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. It's 7 a.m. I can't comprehend this, but this is really cool." So like, while I know the reach is going to be less than what a label could accomplish, I don't know, like even just getting things like, peers saying that it's a good song, or that they appreciated the musicality of it.
Yeah.
Like that means a lot to me. A lot more than like a Spotify number, in my opinion.
Oh no,
I'd much rather have like 3 DMs that just say like, hey, this song is phenomenal and made my mood better. I'm like, okay, cool. That's so much better than like, you got oh, I was gonna say like you got 1 million plays. I mean, that would be pretty cool too, but it's a little bit less fulfilling, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, even when you say that, it's like there's no real way to even quantify that kind of number. I don't know. It's like it's still huge, but it's like, okay, now what? Because how do you repeat this? Or like, who are these? Are they like listening to it in passing and it's just like, oh, it's another tune? Because like it's when somebody just comes to you, like they take the time to be like, they find you and like, hey, I like this track. Like that makes a huge difference. And even if I'm like looking on just like a comments, like Reddit or something, like I like the tune, I'm like, cool, that's great. But if it's like you guys or anybody in like a server, I'm like, holy shit, yeah, okay, I did a good job. They like it.
Yeah,
and they're good because
exactly.
I mean, like especially with us, like you'll say if you don't like it or not, and like I'll be, all right, well, you could have been nicer, but you're my friend, so I guess it's all right.
And I mean, the BSA community always has, like, it's not necessarily people are just going to go out and say straight up, like, your track is shit. You're going to find either a constructive way of saying it or a funny way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or you end up in a YouTube video.
I can't remember I can't remember what work in progress track it was you posted. It was one of the ones out in Solvent where my joke was just like, this track is all kicks, no snares.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's how
the kick pattern was so intense.
I think about that every time I try to make a drum loop. I'm like, damn it, he's gonna talk about the kicks again.
I mean, hey, like you have a style, right? You have a sound. So
yeah. Speaking of which, like when it comes to you, Heymac, you have like your musicality is, in my opinion, in its own very own style, where you layer your musical bits very unique, not necessarily uniquely, but you do it in a way that you can tell that you put a lot of care into it. Like, where do you start when it comes to a track? Do you start with like the musicality, or do you get a break and work around that, or how do you start?
Well, first off, I appreciate that you like it that much. I know, like as bad as it sounds, I kind of start with splice in a way, and that you can replace that with basically just sample hunting. And I mean, I usually try and look for something just musical that just clicks.
Yeah.
And like that's it. I have in the past started tracks with the drums, and it never really works as well, I find. And so I'd much rather build, the building blocks, I guess, of a song around something versus trying to go the other way. And so it was, it's just, I try and find some sort of sample or sound, not necessarily, sound like, or just presets, just flipping through presets to find something new that just clicks right. And so I know that I didn't expect it, but my one song that Ode to What Was, that one got a ridiculous amount of traction relative to a lot of other.
Because it was good.
It was really
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I've heard that from a number of people, and it both surprises me and flatters me every single time. And
just out of curiosity, why does that come as a surprise to you?
Because I was like, this is I like this song, and I didn't necessarily get it didn't click it to me as much as Intertwine did, which is the A, like, yeah, be the A side on that one. So I was like, man, I think everyone's gonna click on Intertwine because it has like this really, in my opinion, really, really pretty like flute top line, and I love listening to that, and that one really, really clicks. And Oh To It Was still sounds really, really nice to me, and it's still really pretty, but I didn't expect that one to be the one that people would like. And so I mean, hey, if everyone likes it, like Wicked, like who am I to, to be like, no, you're liking the wrong song. Like, no, it's.
Man, I have the same issue all the time. Because every time something comes out, like, I hope people like this one. And I know this one is like, they're both like, I like both of them. But my idea is always one of them might be more received better or palatable. Because sometimes they get weird. I don't know. In my opinion. But then like once it comes out, it's like everyone's flocking to the other two. And I'm like, what about this one? I put a lot of time into this one. And you guys are just like, but we like this one. And so like you can't choose what people like, but I guess you can put it out there for them to choose. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so to kind of bring it back to your question there, Mike, like Oh To It Was, the main thing that started that song is that like the melody that starts at the very beginning of the tune. It's just a sample I found, and I was like, I really like this. And then I just built the song off of that. And like, yeah, it sounded great to me, and I still like it. And for some reason, everyone else does too. And it's really nice to like still have people support it, so.
Quick plug, if you want to watch Heymac. Sorry, you go ahead. You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Me.
I can do it. I can only speak for my own thoughts when it comes to Oh To It Was. The reason why I like it so much is because it has that unique blend of the synthy bits, but it also has like that very old schooly Liquid vibes to it. So it sort of like merges them perfectly. So no matter where in drum and bass you come from, there's something in it to like. And if you're a broad listener, there's a lot to like. So
yeah,
it's a perfect merge track. That's my thoughts on it.
Actually, I've never thought of it that way, but that makes sense. Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of those elements in there. So
yeah, because you have the dance floory synth that is not overpowering, but it has that. It's like a dance floor synth gone liquid. So yeah, it's just a really good.
Heymac has his own style.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think you have your own style? Or is it, or have you like met that? Like, this is what I want my style to be, and I'm working up to that. Do you think you've like reached that yet? Because I don't even know some days for myself.
I think I have a current style, which is created by me not necessarily pushing myself out of my comfort zone production wise.
Yeah.
And so like I mean I could like list off the things that I do regularly on my tunes that are consistent in a lot of mine. And like that synth and Oh To It Was, that's one of them. I don't think it's at the sound that I want yet. I don't think I'm anywhere near that. And like even this past like the last like 6 months, I have been making a little bit of liquid drum and bass and still trying to find that not necessarily niche, but like just the right kind of pocket of liquid that I really like the most. And then I also made a halftime tune, and that was very I guess like it references a lot of like wave music that's out right now because I love that stuff. It's I don't know why, but it just actually I do know why. It's so like it's very musical, and so much of it has like to me emotional impact.
Yeah.
So I like to listen to it a lot. So, shout out to Sorcery and Yedgar and the 18 other million people on my my Spotify playlist, but at least those two, because they're homies from here as well. So
is that the one you did? Was it like a few weeks ago, like in the voice chat, like the halftime, kind of like a lot of Foley drums? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
The one I demanded a dub of as soon as.
So that was made in one night, and just it was purely an exercise of do something different, and I think I had the most fun producing that.
Yeah, I remember you starting off complaining about it, like Winslow keeps telling me to try something else and exercise, and like I'm just gonna do it. We'll see what happens. And like an hour later, you're like, you know what, this is pretty good.
Yeah, wouldn't you believe it? If you push yourself into your comfort zone more, you usually get good results, or at the very least, you learn something.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of, since you made that track in the voice call chat, you've been doing the whole Twitch thing together with your production.
Yeah.
Do you feel that is something that is helping your like productivity when it comes to music?
That is a controversial question in my mind.
I can rephrase it real quick. Does it help when I come and spam the light emotes in your chat?
Right.
Yeah. So here we'll do full proper plug. So every single Wednesday now, I'm changing that. Yeah, as of this week. So every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I do its production stream on Twitch. And I don't know, it's originally, and like I said it on stream too a bunch, the main purpose of it was that I dedicate at least an hour and a half to 2 hours that night to just work on music, and whatever comes out of it is whatever comes out of it. And if I happen to, finish a song or something clicks and I build it, then I finish that song off stream sometimes, or finish it on stream, however it goes. There is a mild distraction, which is Twitch chat.
Me.
You two and several of my good friends who tune in, and also everyone else that I haven't met in person, but they tune in regularly too. It's still a really positive experience no matter what, but it definitely does make it a lot tougher, and it's not a bad thing by any means. It's just it's producing music on hard mode, as if it's already hard enough. So if you ever watch me, and I'm sure you guys have seen on stream, like I will be working and then people will ask me questions and I'll answer the questions, and then I'll like stop talking like halfway through a sentence, and I'll be like, yeah, for sure, and then I'll like do something and I'm like, yeah, like, okay, so what were we talking about? And I just blank.
It's really hard to go back and forth.
It's tough, yeah. And I mean, I still go ahead.
I can only speak for myself, but like when I'm in the zone, when I have like a good workflow going, I know for a fact that if I was to have a Twitch chat on the other screen, I would just not be paying attention to that at all. So that is one of the decisions why I don't personally stream on Twitch. I do it on Discord, where people can talk to me directly.
Yeah.
So I fully agree with that, and that's why I usually have the approach of on Twitch, it's pure like creativity side. It's just about finding the right samples. It's just about kind of digging and making something that sounds nice. Because one, if you tuned into a Twitch stream and I'm just doing a mix down, you're going to be bored because you're going to listen to me, like you just watch me listen to a kick drum for 30 minutes and tweak stuff, and that's going to go absolutely nuts. And the other part too is like, if by doing just the creative side of just messing around with samples and like getting some input as you're kind of doing that, and it makes it a little bit more fun. Like there's a lot less pressure on like what the outcome is, because it's just like casual riffing, just finding sounds, doing weird stuff to them, and the outcome's not really too much of a priority.
Yeah.
So I like you said too, like I'll use the word like the flow state.
Yeah.
Right. Like I have never had a flow state on a Twitch stream because there's just so much going on. But the thing is that sometimes those streams, like even just little ideas and snippets, they could become something later on. But one of the larger factors too is that just after I started doing it, more people like reached out to me and they're like, hey, like, COVID has sucked. And I've been able to tune to your streams and you've made my Tuesday nights. And now I look forward to you streaming so that I have something to do. Hey, you're I'm always happy whenever you join, Duncan. So, and you too, Mike. Like, yeah. So at this point now, like I still have no, there's no expectations that when I'm on stream, I'm going to finish a song or, I definitely am not going to do mix downs or anything like that. One, because that's boring for anyone who's watching, and that requires a lot more focus. But it's like that's basically how I combat that, is by just trying to make it what I consider to be the more fun side of making a song, because the technical is boring. So I'm trying to avoid a certain phrase.
I was going to say it. I was about to say.
Yeah, I have not said a certain phrase regarding how you create a song, but there's I would rather spend time looking for samples, messing with samples, and kind of just creating ideas versus the technical side, which takes a lot more time and effort for me.
Yeah, and the streams where I tune in, I've actually picked up a couple of tips here and there. For example, when you do streams that are specific towards making breaks, for example, or drums in general, or if you're doing like the track I remixed, if I don't remember all wrong, you worked on that on stream initially.
I believe so.
Yeah, because I think that's where I heard it the first time. Where the stream I remember was you were doing specifically the sound design on I think it's the B section, the synths in that. And that's sort of where I got the initial idea that I had for the remix, was all the way back then. So even tuning into your streams is you can pick up stuff for your own projects. Because I didn't plan on making that remix until you asked. And then, because I started a completely different track based on that stream for myself. So, if anything, to you people watching, tune into Heymac streams, you'll learn shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's like how I've been getting more familiar with Ableton, is just watching you. I'm like, what is he doing? Why does it look like that? It's like, well, and now I'm just like, maybe I should give this a shot, because there's just like a bunch of things that I just didn't know like about Ableton. And it's not like things that are going to be in like their 40 videos, because Ableton 11 was announced. It's like a specific thing. And now I have like, this is the Heymac workflow. So now whenever I use Ableton, I'm like, what will Heymac do? It sounds like a joke, but it's seriously like, that's my reference point.
I mean, I'm definitely by far not an Ableton expert, but I'm comfortable in it now for sure, and I luckily have a number of people around who are phenomenal for asking questions about it. So it's trickled down education, and as I learn things, I show it on stream apparently, and even just comments like that, Mike, like the fact that you got inspired enough to make a song from watching my stream, like that means a ridiculous amount to me. And like I've had other people who've messaged me saying similar things, and like I cherish that. That is, that is beyond important for me. So I appreciate that a lot.
I think that's one of like the better things that have, I wouldn't say come out of COVID, because people were doing it before, but one of the better things that's come out of music production becoming more frequent on Twitch is that not only do you see how other people approach making music, you also pick up tips along the way. Like I've learned some Ableton tricks from you. I've learned some Ableton tricks from watching other streamers. I know you've said you've learned from watching me when I do it in Discord. Like,
Yeah.
you can pick, like, everybody seems to have their own like specialty in Ableton that they're really good at, and they've learned a specific part of Ableton really.
And also
really
too,
well.
like not related to Ableton, but just DAWs are complex. Like they are absurdly complex. So yeah, like there are a very small amount of people who know every single tiny detail of Ableton, and that's not me. But you know, give me another 5 years and we'll see how I can do. But so far I can.
Even then, like, Ableton is really good at putting in a lot of new shit with their new versions. So even if you know everything in 5 years, then Ableton 12 is out. So you have a whole new set of stuff that you need to learn. So.
Yeah, exactly. It never ends.
So with everything like you've been working on, it's been a lot of just, I don't want to say just, but like everyone likes to put like, it's liquid. That's what it is. It's So, but are you like thinking about any other genres? I know you like did the halftime thing, and that was kind of like liquid-esque. I don't know, but it's still like a halftime. So, but are you like thinking about not completely changing, but not necessarily having like an exercise? Just like, I'm gonna make a tune in a different genre, a different palette, or whatever BPM, because you know people like to say genre is dead, but it's not. You know.
Yeah, like I don't necessarily like, and this is stuff that I just don't publicize because it's just exercises. But yeah, I've been, you know, not making great tunes, but I have been making some house songs more in the vein of like Lane 8 and and UNO and stuff like that. I've been trying to make that just because like ironically, like I do love liquid drum and bass, and I mean, like I can't say I don't like liquid drum and bass and have a Hybrid Minds flag behind me. Counterintuitive, but I love liquid drum and bass, but I don't listen to a tremendous amount of liquid drum and bass in my day-to-day life. So a lot of it, it's like Anjuna Deep, and I've been making some of that on the side for fun. I started an ambient project. This is another exercise. So just making ambient songs, and I made the expectation that whatever I make for that account gets immediately put onto Spotify or just released in general.
Yeah.
So that's already happened. And if anyone can message me with the name of that artist account, then you get a thumbs up. But that's mostly. I
still haven't found it.
Yeah, no. Well, there's not really. I don't think there's a way that anyone would. But yeah, that was just an exercise, and will continue to be an exercise of making something different, trying new ideas, and then also not forcing myself to accept like imperfection, I suppose, at the release stage, right? Because there's no such thing as a perfect mixed song.
No. I think it helps to just like take your mind off whatever you would consider like your main thing. So like if liquid drum and bass is like what you make most of the time, like making a separate project kind of like gives you a break, and you do let down some of your guard, I guess. They'll be like, you know what, I have to tweak this. Like, no, it's rough, it's fine. Like, and then like me personally, I'll try and like rationalize it. Like, there are tracks from the 60s that have like clicks in this, and like this guy's playing a string out of tune. That's a hit record. So, you know, why can't I do that? And it's like, well, if you actually think about it, it's like that was the 60s. That's how it was. Those people were still good at their instruments. And you were just like clicking buttons. But it still like helps you take your mind off things. And I think that's like why I would do like the ambient thing that I did, even though it was just take the drums out the track and then put it on Spotify. Or like the house track, a few like housey things I did. And even like the Winslow-fi, like that was mostly Mike, but just like having my mind focused on that and trying to make that into something, even with like the day I spent on like the artwork, like that was a good break from what I normally do. So I came back refreshed for that,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, and you also had Missed Signals where you did the viola for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Oh yeah. I forgot about
yeah.
that.
So there was like you got to work on that as
Mhm.
well, and I tried to, since it was a self-releasing, I didn't rush you with it,
Mhm.
but I did tell you like when you get the time, just freestyle on this, like complete
Yeah.
creative freedom on it. Just here's the song, do your thing. I'll do the mixing,
Yeah.
mastering, all that shit.
And that was like
So
the best part. I was just like throwing a project together without too much extra thought into it. Just like it doesn't take any more than you want to get to like a certain quality, you want to achieve this sound, you want to be presented a certain way. That's it. All the other details are just kind of like you don't really have to worry about it, and that's that freedom like makes the main job or whatever so much easier
Mhm.
sometimes.
yeah, and I think that's why I enjoy it. And I've taken like an extended break from drum and bass
Mm.
to do
Yeah.
more lo-fi and hip hop stuff because it is so creatively freeing.
Mhm.
Just to because yeah, you use old ass samples. They're already imperfect. So just mess around with them
Yeah.
and add your own little imperfections to it, and it's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be imperfect. So there is no like the main reason, and this is going to lead into a question for you, Heymac. The main reason why I've taken a break from drum and bass is that for me personally, and this is a very like personally for me thing, is that I've gotten worse at taking feedback when it comes to people telling me like, for example, when it comes to snares, like that snare is not EQ'd to exactly that hertz and it's not
Yeah.
panned correctly, and like when it's so intricate that people need,
Yeah.
the feedback you get is like people demand perfection out of the smallest things for it to be good in their ears. It's disheartening for
Mhm.
me. So the question that I had for you, hey Mac, is in your songs, like as much as drum and bass is a technical genre, you still manage to keep the sort of like down to earth vibey feel to a lot of your tracks. Like, is that something you consciously like, or rather, your work process for it? Do you spend like a full day with just the technical stuff and then let your creativity flow on the musicality bit, or is it just straight up technicality all the way through when you work on a track?
I think it's um it's mostly just the, and I'll say it just once, it's the songwriting.
Like,
And it's I focus on that first and foremost because just like I kind of said with the what's the what's the point of me making music, like if the music doesn't reflect what I want it to, then it's not something that I would want to release to the world. And so like technical, and I'm sure a lot of people have different opinions on this, but like my view of it is that you can get better at songwriting, you can get better at technicals, but if your song that you make doesn't have like the right kind of vibe to it, then making it just a solid mix down and master on it doesn't change
mm.
any major factors to it. Like it'll sound really, really clean and it'll have, like good solid drums, but what it's conveying might not be what you want it to. So yeah, like I'm definitely like I'm not trying to sound like I'm an expert at this because I'm definitely not. There's there's some songs for me that that I've written that, like, I think that they are as close to what I want to reflect right now in terms of, you know, my approach to music and my thoughts on music. And I will do anything related to getting sure that that like feeling, I guess, because a lot of it we're talking about like the emotion of it. In my case, is like, want to make sure that the emotion of it is portrayed correctly, and then like I'll do the mix down stuff after the fact. So I know a ton of people mix while they write, and I, like, to an extent do that, but not where I'm, you know, like building the bridge as I cross it. I focus primarily on making sure that it reflects what I want it to. And, you know, like I said, I'm still not, you know, I'm still working on that, still trying to learn how to, you know, do it better. And I hope that with each tune that I write, that gets better and better. And yeah, so like it's, the technicals aren't necessarily a focus for me at the start, but obviously like at the end of it, you know, like it's a necessity. You can't, if I release a drum and bass tune where, you know, the kick is negative 36 dB, it's an ambient tune at that moment. So
yeah, no, I think that's like a really good thing to focus on, and to just know, just to be like aware of that. Like, I want to focus all on the musical part. You know, I want to get the idea, the emotion, and then when the mix down comes, you know, you just do what you, more or less, you do what you have to do to make the song presentable in a way. But like a solid technical tune that sounds super good mixed down, EQ'd to the snares, you know, right there, 200 hertz just smacking you. That's good. But if it doesn't, there's no feeling behind it. There's like, who cares? And you can still have like a drum track, like it's drums and bass, like, you know, 90s. It's just like pots and pans almost, and like distorted 808s, but there's still feeling behind it, even though there's just drums clacking away. And then you can have liquid that just, you have a piano, and like, it's hard to mess up a piano, but you can do it. But I mean, the piano is like immediately, like, drum and bass or not, you relate to that sound because it's everywhere. So you're immediately like, what's this space, this musical space am I in? And then from there, it's just, you don't really care about the mix sound. It's kind of like editing video. Like, if you don't notice the edits, then it's great. But as soon as like something's off a little bit by a frame, it bothers you sometimes. But as long as like the pacing and the story is there, you're into it.
Mm-hmm.
At least I think so sometimes. Yeah.
And, you know, like I think that one of the best examples too, and you can add one to the counter as well, but like Etherwood,
there you go,
is a phenomenal example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like some of his older music, his mix downs aren't perfect.
Yeah.
And that's good in a sense, right? But his musicality, you know, was and still is phenomenal in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, people listen to it and they connect with it.
Mm.
And that, in my opinion, is far more important to me than making sure that I have a really tight mix down. But of course, like, I can't ignore the fact that you need to have a good mix down at the end of it. So
yeah,
no, and that's why I like why high contrast is one of my biggest inspirations. It's just because his mix downs, they don't always sound like they're to perfection. It sounds like he just kept the drum break the way it was when he found it, for example.
Yeah, that's why
his newer stuff sounds more clean, but his older stuff is very like, it sounds like he just snatched parts from different places and put them together.
Yeah, I think the same, like around the same time, because like that early 2000s High Contrast was like his True Colors album. And then Caliber, I always think of Caliber, like people complain, well, newer, you know, the newer fans are like, Caliber, he just has a piano and some breaks. And it's like, but it's how you do it. And it's so difficult to make just 3 parts work super well. And when, like, you can, I'm not saying like something super technical, like let's just go far in Nausea is like easy. Like that's hard in its way, but Caliber's hard in like his kind of way. And to reach like that level on either side of like the musical versus like technical kind of spectrum is like you got to put so much time into like the nuanced like level of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like I don't even know where I was going with that at that point, but
I mean, what
it's
I'd
just
say though is that like in your case where you use Noisia, I still think that, you know, when we're talking about liquid, we tend to talk about emotion, right? We talk about because it's usually, I'm just gonna, you know, like, you know, sappy. It's
yeah,
not
fluffy liquid.
necessarily, but it tends to be, yeah. But you know, Noisia, they're also trying to convey something as well, right? They're trying to convey, in their case, usually it's a lot more like aggression and,
Right.
you know, or just any sort of specific sounds to it. Like there's oh, what is it, Halcyon? I know I pronounced that totally wrong, but they were like, we wanted to make a tune that's like happier, and it's still Noisia, and it's still superb technical, you know,
Yeah.
everything about it is super clean, but there's now this like, they aim to make it like a happier sounding tune, and they did it. So it's, yeah, I would say like even then, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be emotion, but it's just if they are trying to convey a specific idea or concept and they
Right.
get it across as clearly as they want to, then like mission accomplished. And that's kind of what I'm going for too. It doesn't necessarily have to be emotion, but if they want to approach it in a certain way and they nail it, like that's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like hitting. Or you can go ahead.
Yeah, no, as you mentioned earlier, Duncan, is that it is an art form in and of itself to get like an emotion across using as little as possible.
Yeah.
Using Hybrid Minds for an example, with the track Touch.
Yes.
It's so simple, but it's so emotional. And to use one of your tracks, Duncan, I personally, Amore has that, where it is super simplistic if you listen to it very like bare bones.
Yeah.
But if you then start analyzing, like you can tell that even though it feels spacious, there's always something happening in it. And that is, to me, an art form. I get around that by just filling shit with breaks. So the fact that you do that without just drowning your tracks in breaks is genuinely impressive to me.
Oh, thanks, man. I think is with that one specifically, and what I was thinking about, like Hybrid Minds, like Touch. It's the vocal element, especially with like any Hybrid Minds tunes. Like once you hear the vocal, it doesn't matter if you've heard it before, if it's kind of like cheesy or whatever. It locks you in immediately.
Yeah.
Every time, and like, I guess for me, I kind of had that in mind, but then I'm also like, I'm not a vocalist, so let me just melodyne the hell out of this, and I hope it comes across right. But the point is like the feeling is there, and especially like we've been like I would say we've all like listened to Hybrid Minds enough to where we know when they come out with a tune, we know what to expect like in a positive way, and if any one of us puts out a tune, we know kind of our general thought process behind like how we make tunes and stuff. So there's that personal connection, and then you hear the voice, and then you hear all this other stuff, and it just makes the feeling comes across, and the technical is like a side thought. And I think like how you've been talking about, Harry, is just like nailing that feeling in the song is being most important, is definitely what will carry you, or like anyone. It definitely what carries me, just nailing the feeling.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I've been saying, like the BSA server constantly. I am of the personal belief that vibe over technicals.
There we go. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, that is always going to be the slogan that I work towards, because I can't stand a track that to me is killed because of how technical it is. You can put down 500 hours on your mix down and get the snare sounding so perfect. if that snare kills the vibe of the piano you have in there, doesn't matter. Because then I'm just listening to drums with some white noise that happens to sound like a piano in the background.
Yeah, I mean, lately, I don't know if it's like too, but just like the focus on technical, like there's this whole side, like I wouldn't say like it's a mono, but like that kind of sound, those like that camp of like producers to where it's almost like, look how technical I can get for a second, but then he still pulls it back to make a musical hymn, Boonchen, as well, like that. Was it Tasha Baxter the remix, the one Boonchen did with like the crazy,
the
just
wall.
like that one, like it's so technical, but it still just like hits you with that feeling, and you still get hit with like that massive like metalcore snare, and it's like even on what am I trying to say? Like just to nail that, like that balance is difficult, but it's also I think it helps just as well because I know like we were talking about, you just want to make something presentable, but what if you just go the extra mile and it's ridiculously technical and musical, and then you get something like that. But that's kind of like a 1 out of 10 on every 10 kind of tracks. You kind of nail that, but it's still just like keeping that in mind that there's a balance that can be reached, and you can go as far as you want, but you can always do as basically little as you want as well. And so kind of what like you were saying, Mike, like in the server and like other servers and forums, anytime if I do like message on like a forum or something out of the blue one day, it's just like these guys are being real dumb right now. But it's just like you can relax and just write music. You don't have to try to make a club or a banger or a forum pleaser kind of tune. You can just make something that makes you feel good. It's fluffy liquid, Just it makes you shed a tear.
I mean, hey, even my halftime song, that was super fulfilling for me.
Yeah,
because it still reflected me and what I was trying to go for, and also too, like as a plus, it was really exciting to kind of break the imposter syndrome for a second. Be like, no, you can make other genres.
Yeah, that too. Just like
and when you do your like other genres or your side project stuff, and you manage to get that like one perfect track in that specific type of genre that you feel for yourself is the best you can do in that genre, that is a very fulfilling feeling as well. For me, that's been tea time after seeing the response.
Perfect.
So good.
Yeah,
it's so
that
good.
one is. I stumbled upon a lead sample on Splice, and then that track wrote itself with some thought behind it, and I was ready to just put that as like, yeah, okay, Duncan likes it, he'll use it as a theme, that'll be that.
Yeah,
I did not expect it to be used for his fucking hospital signing video, and
It was a nice surprise.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that caught me completely off guard.
Yeah, that's why I didn't tell you ahead of time. I was gonna tell you what I was doing. I was like, no, I'll just wait till he sees it, because I'll get like a big attack.
Yeah, so like doing your side stuff, and I was there for you making that halftime track. Like you could tell by just watching you make it that it gave you some sort of fulfillment, because you did zone out several times where we tried to talk to you and you were just in the zone working on it. And that is people need to do that more often. I feel
it's the chasing that flow state, not getting too psychological, but oh man, nothing feels better than that. It's the best, right? We all know that.
Like when 3 hours have just gone by and you didn't notice, that's just the best when it comes to music production.
It's like you've been working on something, like, oh, the room's dark. What happened? It's like, oh, it's like 2 a.m. I need to go to bed. Yeah. All right, Heymac. So the tax brackets in Canada. You said we were supposed to talk about that earlier. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, let's switch gears entirely. Let's talk about politics for sure. That's
oh my God.
I actually have one thing that is like non-music related. Like
go for it.
Outside of music, what do you personally do to recharge if you're having like writer's block or just a bad day when it comes to making music? Do you have like any other hobbies that you put energy into, like Duncan has with his photography, for example?
I mean, my camera's actually within reach too. I should be putting more effort into photography. I really should. Other than that, like, there's just I'd say like I had a month or two stretch a while ago where Ableton just there's nothing. I could open it, and there's no point in opening it that day or that week.
Was it that classic 20 minutes of just checking through samples and then closing it?
I don't even do that. I was doing like chord progressions, and I'm like, none of these sound good, and just Alt F4. But for, I guess, recharging, like, I play a decent amount of video games, and at least now when it's summertime, I can go outside, and that's great. I picked up photography, mostly actually event photography, just right before COVID hit, which was arguably not the greatest time to start doing event photography. But then throughout that, I just kind of, occasionally went and just brought my camera with me and started taking pictures of stuff. And the few times I've done that, it's been really nice. So I haven't done it a lot during COVID, and I have failed that habit. But that's one that I definitely want to pick up and keep going a little bit more and try and put more effort into it. So like video games, photography, trying to find like other music as well. And that's, like I said, I don't listen to a lot of Liquid on a regular basis. So I tend to just like dive into other genres, and whether it's like listening to ambient, for like a couple of weeks or something like that, or I have that like 3-4 days where I just listen to metalcore again. It's great. You just want to go back and just touch back on the nostalgia factor, and you're like, yeah, is August Burns Red still good? I'm like, yeah, they are. But yeah, like, I guess those are the main ones. Or just trying to just be around other people and just kind of recharge through them. Once again, that's been a little bit difficult, but luckily through the power of the internet, I have managed to make a couple of really good friends. So for that, I'm very, very grateful, because now I can bother people from across the world, and they
in different time zones. Who's awake right now?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, like Discord has been crucial for just kind of being able to recharge. As silly as it is, just being stupid in Discord chats is great. It's great for your mental health.
Spending an hour trying to figure out where everyone lives, like that was like the best part of your day, probably.
That where we all doxed each other.
Yeah, we did a doxing scavenger hunt on Google Maps.
It was a good time. I had fun.
Yeah.
Street view, looking at your apartment. It's like, all right, that's where Heymac lives. Cool.
But yeah, I mean, those are like the main ones. I mean, I would say exercise, but you gotta also that habit failed a couple of times. So
and me too.
We'll get back on it.
Yeah. So I don't know, Mike. You have any more questions?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how long you want to go, but
hold on, let me check if I have one. Sweet. Which is kind of deep, so we'll see if you want to answer this one. I'll actually ask it exactly as I wrote it down. As busy as 2021 has been so far with Twitch and producing for your part, do you feel that you have the same energy and motivation heading into the second half of the year as you've had the first half, now that vaccinations and everything are coming in and COVID is sort of like becoming a smaller part of the day-to-day?
That is a really good question. I really like that one.
UKF, hire me.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. UKF, come get your boy. It's a mix of the two. Where the times where like the songs click and it feels authentic, those times, excuse me, are that's where I keep I keep the motivation. Arguably since I'd say probably about August of last year, the motivation has not been as strong as I would like it to be. And that's partially just related to the effort and the I guess the mental fortitude required for submitting to labels and trying to get the second half of a song sorted out, which is just getting it released. So yeah, my motivation definitely kind of has been faltering, but every now and then I still happen to just land on that right moment where it clicks, and then it kind of comes back to that like intrinsic motivation. And now at this point, right, like I'm going to do the self-release, one because I have enough that I'm confident in being able to put out something, and two, like getting a little bit of that reaction from even just like close friends on putting songs out, I think is useful too. It doesn't mean that I like have stopped opening Ableton or anything like that by any means. It's it's also too, like, just with summertime, you'd rather go outside than open Ableton some days, and I have to combat that fairly often right now, at least. So but yeah, like it's not even COVID related. It's just the process of going through writing music, as you guys both know, and then handling that. Oh, and he disappeared. But yeah, like handling that the mental part of trying to get songs put out. So Andy's back.
Sweet.
Yeah. So hopefully, like, that kind of explains it. I'm still absolutely motivated, and like I have unreleased songs that I love. In particular, one I keep listening to over and over again, and I shouldn't. It's called Prophecy, and I'm particularly excited about, just because I think that one is like it's going to be the intertwined thing again. Like, that one really clicks for me, and I hope that it clicks for other people. But if one of the other ones happens to click with other people more, then phenomenal. Like, that's music's just like that. So
yeah, nice. I think we know Heymac now. Just a little bit better.
Yeah. I'm sorry if that last question went a little bit too deep, but it was
I like
something that I know you've been talking a lot about, the whole process of,
and I mean,
better phrasing, hunting labels with your releases. That if I were in your position, I would be so demotivated. So it is motivating for me to see that you're still motivated, even though you're working. You're still working and doing your thing. Yeah,
and I think, like, it helps that I rationalize it in a couple of different ways. Like, the first one is that, one, it's never personal, and that is, like, that's always going to be the case. Barring me, I don't know, making fun of a label, but I don't know why I would. Like, it's never going to be personal. And then the other part too is that it's very, like, to a degree, subjective, right? Obviously, if it's a bad mix down, bad mix down. But if they think that it's a good song, but it's just not 100% right for them, then that's also like, it doesn't mean that it's a bad song. It just means that it's not the right song for them. And so, that's how I just kind of remind myself that, one, I guess an add-on to that too, is that rejection is natural with all of this, right? Like, the getting a song signed on Ram kind of puts this like additional kind of hovering expectation, and that was something that I've chatted to several people about, and I'm still to this day extremely grateful. But when people are like, "Oh yeah, like like I don't think I can do it. I don't think I could get a song on like one of those big labels." I'm like, yeah, you can.
Yeah,
I did. I got, I'll say like I got lucky. There's still like skill involved in making sure that your songs are up to par, but like I did get a song on there. Like if I could do it, anyone can. So, and I continue to remind myself like, yeah, I can get a song on whatever label. Just if I keep working at it and keep trying, at some point it will, hopefully happen. And if you just keep trying, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, you can't, what is it? You can't fail if you never quit. There you go.
This was it, you miss 100% of the shots you never take?
All
Wayne
those
Gretzky,
things.
my man.
I was trying to avoid that, but like it is true. But there's
It's so simple, but it is true.
There's that massive mental barrier of just like when you get rejected, you're like, this sucks, like my song's bad, and then you got to just kind of fight through that. And again, like I'm very grateful for the Heymac support group, so that I can I can bounce ideas off of that group and be reminded that my mix downs are pretty good, not bad.
Yeah,
they're okay, and just keep trying. So
nice. Well, that was my last question. Was like, do you have any advice? It's like you just said it all right there.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about it too, because I knew you always ask like, what's your one piece of advice?
Yeah. So thanks for doing my job for me.
I research. No, to boil it down, just like rejection is a natural part of this whole experience, and it doesn't mean that you are a bad artist. And as long as you're making something that you think accurately reflects yourself, then keep trying, because at some point, it's going to click, but you're going to have to fight through a significant amount of you cannot, like you're not great, you're getting rejected a ton. Because I feel like, and I mean, both of you guys can attest to this too, right? Like outwardly, all the people see is successes, and that is a huge problem with just like the landscape of how promotion works, is that no one sees the graveyard of tunes. All right, so like it's not, no one has 100% success rate, and it's not realistic. Just make something you like. And that's my motto on Twitch. I think I've said that 18 million times. And like, I make music that I like, and I hope that you like it too. So,
and that's a perfect way to wrap up an episode. Hey, Mac, you've been great. Or do we want to keep going? I'm just gonna wrap it up anyway. It's been like an hour. No one has an attention span for anything longer. So, is there anything you want to plug? Other than,
so follow me on any social media that you've got. It's all at Heymac Music. So Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook. I don't have Google Plus, so if someone claims that, I don't know. I
Right.
couldn't tell you. And other than that, yeah, I have all my music on Spotify, and one special Billie Eilish bootleg on SoundCloud, and there'll be some new music on the horizon in the next couple of months. So
Sweet.
stay tuned for that. But yeah,
Nice.
that's pretty much that's my whole plug.
All right, Mike, you want to plug anything?
I don't really have anything to plug apart from like sub to my OnlyFans. I got pictures of Gambit on there.
Yeah, Gambit the dog.
That's about it.
We all need to.
Yeah.
That's been the best part of like the server, of just seeing like Gambit's pictures every morning.
Dog pictures.
I just whenever I go to the summer house, take pictures of Gambit. I'm gonna start uploading into OnlyFans. So if you want to subscribe to pictures of a German Shepherd, then go for it.
All right, that's it. That's this episode. It's been great, Harry. Thanks for jumping on like at the last second.
It was an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this song.
All right, we're done. I have tea.